Qatar World Cup. The logo is the infinity sign indeed. The analemma, certainly. But it also links to the Ouroboros, to which Ouroboros is a composite word made up of two Greek words meaning to devour one's tail, the loop of eternitas or aeon, and indeed this goes back to the Kemetic Babylonian. Hyksos is the link between them, of course, the Kemetic Babylonian symbol of the Shen ring. Again, this links with the primordial deity, and furthermore the Lord character, which is the usurper or demiurgic deity of this. I'll get more into that in other videos, and I detail that within my new book. Shen, which is closely linked to the Shin letter. Pictographically, the Shin letter means a baptism by fire or destruction. Of course, we see, for example, on the Tephilim, that is the square, which is cut into four, and contains within it Torah passages, little Torah scripts. That is within the shape of, firstly, a black cube, and secondly, it has the Shin letter upon it. It pictographically looks like a flame or teeth. Furthermore as well, 2 Kings 21:7 states that the name of the Lord, not the name of El Elyon, or the Most High God, the Creator deity, that deity which we see, well, it's not even a deity actually, it's a force, that force of creation which we see in the first 3 chapters, if you will, of Genesis. That is not the Lord. And we know that from Deuteronomy 32:8-9, where it states that Yahweh, or Adonai, I mean, this Lord character goes by many names. Originally it went by the name Martu or Marduk. He had the epithet of El Shaddai or Bel Shaddai, which literally means the Lord who dwells upon the mountain. Again, that links with other Akkadian Sumerian deities, of which then seeped in to the Amorite pantheon and eventually assimilated it entirely. The Amorites are an extremely important part within the story of firstly this conspiracy for world government, and secondly the conspiracy to overturn the very creation itself. However, yes, the Shin letter is etched into Jerusalem as per 2 Kings 21:7. That's the name of the Lord. If you look at the topography of Jerusalem, it is in the shape of a Shin. Again, this fire, this baptism by fire, which obviously is the first stage of the alchemical great work, which is putrefaction. In essence, it is to turn the target, or the base material, uniformly black, to thus from that produce various other stages that inevitably produce a synthesis, a perverted new synthesis of creation and destruction. That's exactly what alchemy is about. Obviously, alchemia as well derives from the word for black, the Kemetic or ancient Egyptian word for black. Obviously, Kemet or Kemetic as well, which is the ancient Egyptian native word for their own land. Literally means the black land. It supposedly refers to the black soil. Black soil is soil that is extremely fertile. However, that obviously has seeped into our meaning of, or our words rather, chemical. And obviously we have the trails of chem, which are sprayed constantly. So again, that is all linked to this process of putrefaction. There's also other aspects to it. We have as well technology of the nano variety, which resembles a sort of black goo. Again, as I'll get into within this video, the term carbon as well is entirely linked with this. Entirely. And so are also the other ritualistic props that are being foisted upon us. I can't actually name them. I hope you can infer them from what I'm meaning here. But yes, I hope for this video to go up to YouTube, so Yes, unfortunately I have to tone it down and use coded language, because these individuals don't like you speaking about what they're up to and the ritualism that they are foisting onto the planet at present. So continuing on, putrefaction or destruction is the first stage of the alchemical great work, which is what we are in the midst of currently. And naturally, the first stage requires the quote, target to be brought to a uniform black matter, unquote. There is a Latin term that you'll have to look up. Again, I can't say it here because it would be misinterpreted by the algorithm. But that also links as well with some of their other governmental policies, should we say. So, as well, as you can see the black robes that Messi is wearing. The Latin term, anglicised, would be blackness, or, to use a Latin term, carbo, where we get our term carbon from. How is carbon produced? Well, actually, funnily enough, carbo even means coal or charcoal within Latin. How is charcoal produced? Yes, absolutely. Via fire. Pure, uniform exposing of the entire target uniformly via fire. Of course, as well, the entire stadium is built around the form of the Aeonic loop. Again, that's another symbol meaning this eternality of creation and destruction, the dualism of death and life, which again brings about rebirth. Life begets death, death begets life, and thus the synthesis from that constant motion or friction is the synthesis of rebirth and the eternality that is life. Again, this links with the sine wave, right? You have to understand these concepts. This is not just, this is symbolism, the occult, why do we have to talk about this? If you don't understand this, you don't understand anything that's going on in the world at present. You don't understand at all what they're doing to you and doing to your peers. You have to understand this occult symbolism. You have to understand the metaphysics that you don't have to believe, but you have to understand that they subscribe to for you to really glean the future. You have to know the root of the tree to thus know what the tree shall produce, right? Of course, as well, we have the a posteriori notion of by their fruits ye shall know them. Indeed, yes, but by their roots shall ye know what fruit they shall produce. So yes, again, we can understand via their occult symbolism, which will inevitably be their downfall. We can understand the future that they envision, and not just envision within their mind, but actually putting into practical effect. I'll get into the quotes from Harari in his work, specifically just in Homo Deus. I have about a dozen or two quotes from Harari's work there, which utterly, it will absolutely flabbergast you that this individual is allowed to actually walk freely. He is a criminal extraordinaire in the way he words and talks about individuals, other human beings, ostensibly, as we don't even, would a human actually speak the way he does? It's utterly, it's just so evil. It's so evil, there is no other word for it actually. But yes, so the cup itself has 4 sides, to which each side, looked at in a profile, a profile angle, has the crescent and disc symbology that is indicative of the one deity they worship, the Lord. This Lord deity, this Marduk, though it goes by many other titles. But yes, I just use the Lord here for a sort of general broad term. So that, as I've stated, this goes by many names, but it's known mostly by that moniker as the One or the Lord. This goes much, much further symbolically and historically Understand that this one is the deific synthesis of the moon, the crescent or bull's horns, again as we saw in the cup, and the disk, or the solar disk, or the Aten. Now, the Aten is very important within this entire story. I'll probably have to get into that within my book. Again, when I bring out the book, all you have to do is email me. I'll send you the entire thing for free, all the footnotes, all the bibliography. You'll have all the information that I had at hand while looking and researching all of this. And I give it for free, right? If people want to support me and buy it, that's fine, whatever. But again, I do this for free. I use my own capital to attempt to help people, which there is a selfish aspect to that as well. Honestly, I don't want to live in the world that they're wanting to bring in. So it sort of behooves me to hopefully infuse you with some degree of knowledge. Of course, I don't understand everything, but I'm trying to pass on this information to infuse within you the knowledge that I have sort of gleaned. So hopefully somebody better than myself can come along and firstly add upon that knowledge, and secondly, hopefully stop or impede that which is being brought into the physical world that's being manifested right now. So yeah, that's why I do this. That's why I do everything I do. So yes, this is the one. This also links with the Shema. If anyone's familiar with that prayer. If anyone understands Hebrew, knows Hebrew, then it's extremely interesting, should we say. Naturally, we find this throughout Kemet, ancient Egypt, but Horus's eyes were said to be the morning and evening stars, which again echoes this one characteristic, or the synthesis. The synthesis itself is what the great work is all about, and it is used extensively within political application also. You know, the thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, the problem, reaction, solution. This is used everywhere. This is if you were to boil down what and who they are and what they do in their modus operandi, the three words, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, that is it. Entirely what they're about. How they're bringing the world that they wish for, the anti-life paradigmatic shift that they wish for. That is how they're bringing it about. Of course, this is how the creation functions as well. Thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. They're using the creation, the tools of the creation against the creation itself, right? Again, it goes back to this battle between the metaphysical and the physical, between the creation and the creator. Of course, there's an extremely interesting debate to be had within that, ideas to be explored, but in terms of what these individuals are doing, putting it into practical application, practical realization actually, it becomes less of an intellectual pursuit and more of a, I have to know this, I have to know what the enemy is doing, so that I can thus resist them and combat the enemy. And indeed, they are using the tools of the metaphysical against the metaphysical itself to bar us from the metaphysical, to bar us from spirituality. That also ties in with their needlecraft. Yeah, absolutely. So see above the Hebrew for Qatar. Oh, just before I get on to that, this idea of the morning and evening stars being the left and the right eye. Now again, I could spend a whole video on this, just discussing this alone. However, again this ties in with the Aten. If you look on the Nefertiti bust, who was Akhenaten's wife, she has her left eye is missing, right? Akhenaten was the prophet of Atenism. He attempted to destroy the Egyptian religion as it was and impose a monotheistic cult based around the Aten, or again the one, the Echad, the Lord, right? You'll probably notice Aten, by the way, links very much so with a term for the Lord, should we say. I'll let you figure that one out on your own. However, yes, for example, on the reverse of the Great Seal, the traditional reverse of the Great Seal had an Eye of Providence as it's titled. It isn't actually the Eye of Providence, but as it is titled, it is a left eye. Furthermore, as well, we saw a rather strange, should we say, peculiar striptease by an androgen on Channel 4, British television. Behind them was the eye, the left eye. Symbolism. There were 33 left eyes. I'm pretty sure 14 of them were open. Now, again, if anyone understands the reverse of the Great Seal, I'll be getting into this more within my discussion regarding the Zodiac Killer and the Black Dahlia, who is George Hodel, almost certainly. That figure, probably the entire name is invented. Well, actually, we know it's invented, but I'll get into that in the video. He had a postcard when he was doing his Zodiac killings, where he had on the postcard 13 left eyes, and the 14th was the skeleton, or that figure of death itself. Now, this links with Jacob's Ladder. I'll get into that within the video on George Hodel, but is entirely reminiscent, or it's found at least within Jacob's Ladder, this numerology regarding 14. It then further links with the Zodiac. It definitely links with the Zodiac. There's 13 signs of the Zodiac. The 14th is that place of self-existence, just as it was on that postcard of Hodel, of the Zodiac Killer in 1970. Again, the skeleton, or non-existence, or self-existence, as the occult would believe it as. So yes, I'll get into all of that. But yeah, the left eye is also found within the Al-Masih al-Dajjal of Islam, the false messiah. False messiah is stated to have his left eye. Well, actually, yes, I think it is a he. I think it's referred to as a he in the original Arabic. His left eye is meant to not be working or functioning correctly. Again, like the Nefertiti bust, the wife of Akhenaten, the prophet of Atonism. This sort of links with the root of this ideology, of the grand conspiracy that we see at play right now. Again, my book will touch upon all of that. It's a very convoluted and complex topic. I mean, I can only fit so much within these videos. But yes, the book will allow you, because of all the footnotes and the bibliography, it will allow you a sort of a point from which you can access this knowledge, understand the etiology or the beginnings of this conspiracy. Because if you understand the beginnings of it, you understand everything regarding it. And like the Wizard of Oz, you realize it's just an old grouchy man, a feeble, fragile soul behind the curtain. Yes, so it all becomes clear. So see above the Hebrew for, quote, Qatar 5783. 5783 Anno Mundi would correspond with 2022 Anno Domini. Again, Anno Mundi is the Hebrew calendar, or actually the Semitic calendar, and this goes back to Babylon. Again, if you look at it, it comes to 333 within the ordinal. 333, to which in Kabbalistic numerology, the more a value is repeated, the more significant it is. Then this numerologically equates to the synthesis concept we were just discussing there. 72 equates to the 72 names of the Lord, or Yahweh is seen on a Pythagorean tetractys and extrapolated out numerologically. Or also the 72 demons of the Goetia, or the lesser keys of Solomon. Solomon is very important within this story as well. I'll touch upon that within my book. Again, the Templars. The Templars were named as such due to the Temple of Solomon. The Temple of Solomon and the descriptions of it within the Old Testament are extremely, should we say, elucidating. Because again, my book will go into that. The other number as well that comes out within one of the main primary ciphers of the three major ciphers within Hebrew Gematria. One of it is 36. 36 is a numerator of 3. Furthermore as well, 36 seems to have connections to 9. Obviously 3 plus 6 equals 9, we see that, which again 7 plus 2 or 72 also adds to 9. 3 and 3 and 3 adds to 9 too, of course. 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27. 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27, which is the reverse of 72. Again, it comes to 9. 9 is one of those rather peculiar numbers. Any multiplication within, the 9 times table, the values that are produced thereof, will individually add to 9. It's rather strange. It's a sort of self-existent number, or a circular number as well. 9 as well is synonymous with 6. Not just morphologically, it seems within the occult and their corporate branding, of course. We have AstraZeneca. Their logo is 6s and 9s, all interlaced and intermingled. The World Economic Forum, 6s and 9s. CERN, 6s and 9s. It's found everywhere. It's absolutely staggering, this veneration of 9. Again, it links with this idea of the Lord, which isn't 10. Again, links to the Sephiroth, the Tree of Life. The 10th point of the Tree of Life is the Keter. However, the Lord, its number equates to 9. Genesis 1:1, which isn't the Lord, it's the creator deity, goes by the name El Elyon, or the Most High God. That entire, for example, Genesis 1 comes to, in Gematria value, 2701, which is 37 times 73. Those two numbers are primes. They're actually the only true emerp, or reverse prime. Furthermore as well, obviously, 73, 7 plus 3 equals 10. Again, the full Sephiroth. 72, the Lord, does not have the full 10. It doesn't have the Keter. Does not have the, should we say that, ability to create. The Lord of the Earth only has the ability to control the Earth, to create a Malchuto, a kingdom, right? Not a kingdom of heaven. That's different. That's found within the New Testament. However, the Hebrew term Malchuto, which is found within the Old Testament, that it literally means a physical kingdom. We know this from the Sephiroth. The bottom or base of the Sephiroth is the Malkuth. For example, we see within Kabbalah and also Merkaba mysticism, there needs to be a descent before one ascends, right? How he states this within his rather obscure song, Station to Station, referencing, the vessels to vessels on the Sephiroth. He states within it, one magical journey from Keter to Malkuth. Now that is basically the reverse path one should take upon the Sephiroth. However, within Kabbalah, specifically Lurianic Kabbalah, and also in alchemy, as we've stated, they require a mass spoliation, a destruction of everything, a uniform black matter, as we've stated, within the base material, and that base must be brought down into death. It must debase itself. This is why they're engaged in all manner of debauchery within their grand mansions. You have the Chateau de Amaroi. Amaroi, by the way, is that's actually a sort of calling card, a link etymologically to the group that we're discussing at present here. Again, it links with Atonism too. Amarna, Chateau de Amaroi. Amerwa, right? Amer. You have the United States of America, right? This lord deity was called Amarutu, Amerwa, right? Mother of darkness. America, right? Wasn't named after Amerigo Vespucci. What a, what a rather rubbish excuse for the name. No, it's America is named after the Amorites, the Babylonians. If you read Manly P. Hall's Secret Destiny of America, and obviously I'm not meaning to offend Americans, I have family over in America myself, and Canada too, so, I'm the founding peoples of America, well, the United States of America, rather, are, well, largely they were English, Scots, and Irish, of which I am, so, it would be equivalent to offending myself. So I'm not meaning to offend. What I mean is the government, the entire government, even the colonization efforts itself, were set up by the same, what Manly P. Hall calls the Order of the Quest. Right, we would know them as the Masons. They go by other names, of course. The Jesuits. All of these various branches of them are really there as a mask to hide the inner sanctum of power. It all goes back to Babylon, right? Prior to that, we're in the realms of speculation. But it goes to Babylon, it also links with Sumeria. Again, we have to understand the Sumerian language itself. And the Sumerians weren't native to that area. The Sumerian language itself is a linguistic isolate, meaning no other language on this earth links with Sumerian. Of course, Sumerian itself later on took loanwords from Akkadian, which is a Semitic language in its origin. But Sumerian, on its own, is not linked to any other language. Does that not strike you as odd? However, yes, so it links with Babylon, the Amorites, right? The Amorites, Amaru, named after the deity they worship, the Lord, Amarutu, right? Again, this goes to the word, the Kemetic ancient Egyptian, or Kemetic word for the Hyksos, the shepherd kings who invaded Egypt, northern Egypt. They were also named the Amar. We find Atonism. Its capital was Amarna, right? You can see it everywhere. That's just a selection of terms that I picked off the top of my head. Continuing on. Notice the top left decal. We see the sun and moon above, right? This links with the Aten hieroglyph, right? Again, the one, the bull crescent and the disc symbology, right? The crescent and disc symbology. You see that within the UN logo. You see it within, if you look at a bird's eye view of the courtyard of St. Peter's Basilica. You even have the eight-rayed star, which I don't know if I get into within this video, but that is the Templar insignia. If you look at the Hospitaller cross, it's not actually a cross, it's an 8-pointed star. Count all the points. The points of the edge of the cross, or what supposedly is a cross, isn't actually, as I've stated. You see the V, right? That's another way to project an 8-rayed star. Absolutely. Again, that goes back to the Amorites, to Babylon. We see, for example, Shamash, whose temple, funnily enough, was called Barbara, which literally translates as the White House. Again, these people don't miss a trick. We see that within Inanna or Ishtar. Their symbol, again, that would be later called Venus. The star, the morning and evening star, right? It's 8-rayed. Funnily enough, Ishtar and Inanna, the sort of negative aspect of that, the negative reflection of that deity, was typified as, or it was symbolized as an owl, right? It was called the Anzu. They stole from the gods. This heavenly owl stole from the gods, typified as the Anzu, which literally translates as the heavenly owl. That's heavenly owl or Anzu figure, which funnily enough links with Pazuzu, but I went into that within my Who is Zozo video. They stole the Tablet of Destinies from the gods, right? That means they stole that which made the gods gods. We see it within Genesis 3:22 to 24 that the fallen man, Adam and also Eve, his consort, ate from the tree of knowledge. However, they were ejected from the garden because God did not desire for them to eat of the tree of life as well, and thus become immortal and filled with knowledge like God. Again, so they were ejected from the garden. There's also there's other creation stories that go into this, other, quote, quote, fall stories that go into this as well. However, we also see with Ishtar and Inanna, the dove was one of their primary symbols, right? What do you have? Prior to Uncle Sam, what was the sort of mascot, the symbol that embodied the entirety of freedom and liberty and the American values? Columbia, who was typified as the goddess Libertas, right? We see that, for example, within the Statue of Liberty. Again, it's the Statue of Libertas, this deity, of whom really is Columba. What does Columba mean in Latin? The dove, right? The dove. The dove was one of the primary symbols of Ishtar and Inanna within not just their ritualism, but whenever we see them depicted within stela. Ishtar and Inanna seem to link as well to the consort of Yahweh, of whom was titled Asherah. This links to Ashtaroth in Ishtar, Anet or Anat. The title Asherah also links with Sybil, or the mountain, literally the mountain mother, Mater Kibele, in Phrygian, which means the mountain mother. Again, that links with Bel Shaddai, the Lord of the mountain, of whom this great or mother goddess figure was perhaps the consort of. Funnily enough as well, just before I get on to the next bit, the Templars, one of the major crimes of heresy among the worshipping of the Mammut or the Baphomet was their veneration of Mother Mary trumped their veneration of Jesus, which again Mother Mary links to this Asherah figure, this Sibylline figure, this mother goddess figure. Again, she's also called Katesh, which we see again as a sort of byword now within modern Hebrew, meaning holy or sacred. Obviously, you have the Ruach HaKodesh, or the Holy Spirit. So, yes, just sticking to Asherah and Yahweh. Funnily enough, Asherah is a composite word. It's actually a tetragrammaton. It's made up of 4 Hebrew letters: Aleph, Shin, Resh, and He. So, in essence, Ash-Ere, or Asherah, is made up of ash, which is where we get our word ash from, the product of fire. In Hebrew, it actually means fire. And you have Re, right? Resh and He. Now, I can't really find a word in Hebrew that is links to this. So I can only conclude that it's talking about Re, as in Ra Horus, or Re or Ra, or Ra Horakte. Again, Ra Horakte or Ra Horus, that was associated with Aten as an aspect, or the primary aspect of Aten within the early days of the Atenist cult of Akhenaten. So, literally, Asherah means the fire of Ra, right? So, in essence, juxtapose that to Yahweh, which can mean several things. I just deciphered it as well in terms of it being a monotheistic, one Lord deity. We could also assume that it means the one moon, way meaning one, Ya or Ya being the Kemetic word for moon, also being a deity of the moon. So the one moon and the fire of Ra, meaning the sun, right? That's what Ra or Re means in Kemetic, the sun. So the moon and the sun, the Alpha and Omega, this marries up within the Hebrew gematria, because Asherah and Yahweh put together equals 73. Again, as we were mentioning, 10, the full encompassing picture of creation, the sun and the moon, right? The entire heavens together in unison. Funnily enough as well, the Asherah figure is actually worshipped secretively within the Kabbalah as the Shekinah. The Shekinah can also mean, again, the feminine aspect of the creation, feminine aspect of the Lord. Also, another title that Asherah went by was Belit, which is the feminine of Bel or Baal, again, the master or Lord. However, as well, Shekinah can also mean the divine indwelling presence of the Lord in an object or in with, a vessel, a physical vessel of some kind. So yes, I mean, just another sort of decoding of Asherah. Oh yes, finally as well, just to state very briefly, if you take Yahweh, which in Gematria adds up to 26, again, the reason for the Z letter, you have World War Z, remember that? You had put in ordering Z's to be inscribed upon or painted on the trucks of the Russian military as they invaded Ukraine. This 26, if you take the 25,920 years, take that value of the precessional year where the axial orbit moves from the northerly direction of Polaris to Vega, and it moves in basically a 25,920 year movement. Again, each one arc degree is 72 years, thus, 9 again. Also, it is a numerator of 3. Furthermore as well, so if you take 25,920, divide it by 26, the number of Yahweh, you get 996, and then all the decimal points. As we've stated, 996 equates to 666 or 999, right? The number of the beast. I think, yes, I detail in my new book. I may include it within a video in the future. However, this idea of the moon, the crescent of the moon, the bull's horns, that very much links with the Greek word that's used, which is therion, or therio, and that really can mean a wild beast, but it can also mean a beast of the field, in its, very root or etymological meaning. Therefore, as we understand in the Greek mind, the bull, this is also in the Near East as well, the bull was considered the animal of chaos. It was meant to embody barbarity, right? Everything that the mark of the beast and the beast within Revelation is all about. However, this is the reason Mithras slit the bull's throat at the end of time, also at the beginning of time as well. But at the end of time, to rewash or wash anew the creation, he descended, then reascended, eventually doing battle with the great bull and cutting its throat from the blood that flowed from that. The entire creation was washed anew, was reborn. What does, I'll use the Latin, what does vacca mean? Bull, right? The mark of the therion, the mark of the beast, the mark of the bull. Yes, so that's where the mark of the beast comes from, obviously as well. Yahweh is the one moon. It can mean the one moon. It has that connotation of moon within it, as in terms of Ya and Ya, which is Kemetic for moon. Thus, like the crescent, the bull's horns. Thus, you take the gematria value, divide it into the precessional year, which is the overarching cycle, astronomically and zodiacally, and you get 996 or 666 or 999. Obviously, sixes and nines are synonymous within gematria and numerology, cult numerology, really. Furthermore, as well, the District of Columbia, the District of the Dove, right? Furthermore, that links to the Old Testament, this deity of the Lord. He's also sometimes depicted as a dove. This idea of peace as well, and the olive branch, does not mean what one would think it means. If we look at the pictographic Hebrew meaning of it, of course Hebrew derives from pictographic lettering system, like most Semitic languages and even Afro-Asiatic languages. They had hieroglyphs, of course. We find that the real term of shalom, or peace in Hebrew, is he who destroys the agents of chaos. He who destroys the agents of chaos. So basically what that means is, by the destruction of all potential competition, will there thus be created the conditions for perpetual peace. In this instance, peace really is synonymous with monopoly, right? Or what we would call an oligopoly, a monopoly of everything, right? So yes, that's what peace means in the ritualistic and occult sense. So of course as well, the pentacle, as you see with that symbol, that decal on this figure 8, the pentacle, or again the inverse of that would be the pentagram, the 5-pointed star, is the orthographic projection of a pyramid, right? The orthographic projection would be, a plan or a 2-dimensional projection of the pyramid from the bird's eye view. The pyramid itself links to, again, the 4 elements merging into the synthesis of the capstone, another allusion to the great work, in a semiotic or symbolic manner. Thus, it is like a formula. Sun plus moon equals the 4 elements of nature and the 5th immaterial element of the spirit, or that which is the capstone. That entire thing is the cornerstone of what they are doing, and furthermore, it is the embodiment of their Lord, right? Of the Lord of the earth, really. That which is this literal spirit of mimicry, that which they use mimetics. Mimetics is quite an integral part of their propaganda. That is all, again, that's another word for to mimic, to imitate. But absolutely, we even see with Pan, the god Pan, his rituals would be pantomimes, right? Pantomime comes from a Greek word, or actually a composite of 2 Greek words. Pan, which is all, and the other part of that word, which I won't murder. It's quite a long Greek word. I won't murder the pronunciation of it. Means the imitator of, right? So the imitator of all, pantomime. That's what that means. Pan as well. I get into it within the book. In a satyr, he is this spirit of temptation, spirit of physical or material carnality, and the tempting therefrom. So that is the makeup of man, that formula which is illustrated by the pyramid symbolism. The 3 primary elements of fire, air, and water, to which the 4th artificial element is rendered from the other 3, and that is earth. It's primarily rendered from fire, by the way. That is why earth is titled Adam or Edom. Both are synonymous with the Aleph letter. Again, Aleph isn't a vowel, it's a consonant, so it takes on a myriad of varying and diverse sounds, really, depending on the pronunciation of it, and the diacritics which are coupled with it. So yes, our term for earth within Hebrew, Edom or Adama, which can mean red, In dam, the parent word means blood, right? In redness. This goes back to clay, right? Or the red earth. Adama itself means son of the red earth. The term for fire in Hebrew also begins with an aleph, and then a shin. It would be pronounced as esh or ash, right? That is extremely interesting. Obviously, our term ash, which is the product of fire. So yes, there's a clear link between earth and fire, right? Within Hebrew, and also within the greater occult as well. That is why when they state decarbonization, using the word carbo, Latin carbo, right? That is charcoal. Again, another word for ash, right? The product of fire. So when they discuss decarbonization, really is just a byword for depopulation, right? You are fire, you are earth, of which, as we've stated, earth and fire are synonymous. So that produces the physical vessel, the earth, that is, which is then imbued with the fifth element of spirit, which all the other four are descended from, as this is the image of God, right? The fifth element of spirit, that which is housed in our vessel, that which is actually us. We aren't our bodies. That's merely the vessel. That is the image of God, the spirit. The pentagram, or the inversion of this, is a statement of exalting the physical above the spiritual element. It is what the occult are about, and what the great work is about in pursuit of brevity. So we even see, funnily enough, a pentagram within the street plan of Washington, D.C. We find it everywhere, actually. I mean, it's even in Rome. It's in New York, too. It's in the UN building in New York. We also have seen it with some of the iconography and imagery, corporate imagery that has come out of the World Economic Forum in Davos. So yes, this is all linked. This is all one giant conspiracy, right? And there is a they. Obviously, I can't name that here, but there is a they. And if you search long enough, I mean, you don't even have to search very long for it. You'll sort of figure it out very quickly. It's easy enough to find. It's just a matter of time if you wish to understand what's coming down the line. So the bottom decals are the iris, or the fleur-de-lis symbology. I have done an extensive breakdown of this in my new work, and I do not wish to bore you all, of course, but it is found at the top of the Baphomet, right? See that sort of triadic form, and is also found on the hexagram. Again, the hexagram, if you look at the hexagram, the Thelemic sigil as well is similar to this, the Masonic sigil. They're all basically stylized hexagrams. Again, it's the two triangles interlocked, the as above, so below. This is the idea of the kingdom, the Malkuto, right? Creating that which is in heaven, on the earth, which, I'm sorry to say, by the way, is actually idolatry. That is idolatry. You can't physically manifest that which is immaterial within the physical world, right? It's impossible. And if you try to, you thus demean it, and actually, you demean its power, you disrespect it, and you furthermore break the equilibrium of nature. You invert the natural order. If you can manifest the creation of the immaterial aspect of creation, that immaterial force that brought everything into being, then you basically bring it down to the level of its own creation. It's actually blasphemy. It's sacrilegious. And I'm not even talking about in a religious manner. I mean, even to the secular world, you're basically stating that which created the world, the secularum, it should be existent within this world in a physical, manifested way, which it can't be, because the physical world can't actually contain the entirety of it. It can only contain fragments of it, as we are. It can only contain fractals of it. It can't contain that which is all. So yes, this kingdom, this Malchuto, this is entirely regarding that, creating what is in heaven here on earth. Again, this links with the internet of all things. Goes back to this idea of the Lord, right? They're trying to literally physically manifest their Lord, and in hopes they can supplant the true creator God. So yes, my new book goes into all of this. So yes, it's found within the Thelemic sigil and the Masonic sigil as mentioned. In short, as has been stated, it is the merging of the duality into the triune synthesis, right? You see it throughout the occult symbology. But yes, it's thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Again, there's a fertility aspect to this as well. The middle point would be obviously the phallus. The two outer points are obviously the open legs, the canal, the birth. Furthermore as well, naturally, if anyone follows my work, this is all about them becoming gods, harnessing the power of creation and destruction, harnessing the dualism. So in essence, once they harness the power of creation and destruction, hence CERN, CERN as well links with Kernunos. Kern comes from a Celtic root, meaning horn. You can look at the shofar. You can see the energetic transfer. It seems to be within a toroidal pattern. Obviously, the apple, or the fruit rather, the apple itself actually has, through its core, again that toroidal shape. Supposedly as well, the electromagnetic field of the Earth is meant to be in that same toroidal pattern, right? Again, this links with field magnetics. Obviously, we have John Dee's work, Tuba Veneris, which again goes into the eschatology of this, goes into the name of the Lord, the Tetragrammaton. Tuba Veneris means horn of Venus. So this horn is where the CERN derives from. CERN is attempting to basically put into practical realization, as we've stated, what the occult and the adepts of the occult have known for quite some time. It's basically proven religion. It's a sort of irony of it all. It's proven a metaphysical beginning or origin of the universe by harnessing the power of creation against creation itself, which is the sort of blasphemy of it all. So yes, once they get this and harness this power of creation and destruction, they can maintain the rigid control of the species through genetic and biodigital modification. They become gods. That is the synthesis of the dualism, and thus the nullification of the potential for entropy, or the destruction, or that which can pose a significant threat to their power and position in the long term. So a world empire for all eternity would come out of this, hence the aeon or eternitas loop, the infinite figure of 8. That's where that symbolism comes from. It's a belief in eternal preeminence of their system, their worldly system once they bring it in, their kingdom, if you will. So Yuval Noah Harari's work outlines the practical stages of what the Kabbalah spoke of in metaphor for millennia. He states in page 444 of Homo Deus, quote, "Humans are merely tools for creating the internet of all things, which may eventually spread out from planet Earth to pervade the whole galaxy and even the whole universe. This cosmic data processing system would be like God." Again, as we've stated, they want to supplant God with their Lord, or basically supplanting the metaphysical with the physical. It will be everywhere and will control everything, and humans are destined to merge into it. Deists explain to those who still worship flesh and blood mortals that they are overly attached to outdated technology. Homo sapiens is an obsolete algorithm, rather. After all, what's the advantage of humans over chickens? Saying, only that in humans, information flows in much more complex patterns, unquote. So basically a dehumanizing of individuals, a denigration of them. That's what these people are entirely about. By the way, this is the thinking of a psychopath, of a genocidalist. So keep that in mind, when you you go to the local clinic, should we say. Homo Deus, page 64. Quote, "Secondly, this is a historical prediction, not a political manifesto. Even if we disregard the fate of slum dwellers, it is far from clear that we should be aiming at immortality, bliss, and divinity. Bliss, or yechida, is actually a Kabbalistic term. It means the collective essence of the soul. It is basically the essence of the soul of the Adam Kadmon. They believe we've been devolving over the entirety since the fall. Over the entirety of creation, we've been devolving since the fall. So therefore, to get back to that Adam Kadmon state, a higher state, we have to get rid of all the mutations. So we've been breeding, right? And through this breeding have we basically diluted the brilliant primordial essence of the Adam Kadmon, right? The first man. And thus we must basically murder all of humanity, get back to a small clique who are self-styled Adamic, from the Adamic line, should we say, or as they believe they self-style as. Then we get to this Adam Kadmon state in their thinking. So again, this bliss state, as Harari's just remarked here. He continues, adopting these particular objects might be a big mistake, but history is full of big mistakes. Given our past record and our current values, he's talking about the conspiracy now, given our past record, how successful we have been thus far, we are likely to reach out for bliss, divinity, and immortality, even if it kills us, unquote. That's page 64 of Homo Deus. I will word this carefully due to the platform we are on, and the platform this video is going up to. In essence, they will have to entirely remold the vessel and the mind. The energy or motion of life, the sine wave or dualism, is that which produces and maintains life, sentience, but not necessarily existence. This mechanism also produces entropy, or the tendency for the information to break down after a succession of peaks and troughs of the motion, that which we call time. However, what they desire, and it is insane and will probably cause a potential extinction level event, is that through modifying our world and digitally terraforming everything, which they're doing now, as Harari states as well in Homo Deus and 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, we can thence be brought into a global brain, or again the yechida, the collective essence of the soul, the Adam Kadmon, the brotherhood of man, as it's stated within Masonry, the interconnectedness between everything, the global citizen. And this global brain will be known as the Internet of all things. The Aten, by the way, was called the Lord of all things. No coincidence there, of course. This barren, its occult connotations, will produce the synthesis and thus nullify entropy, create social automation, and a system of negentropy, or where entropy is negated. Eventually, there shall be no natural reproduction. That shall be done by the state and through artificial wombs. There shall be no thought that is private, for that shall be tracked via this Internet of all things. And there shall be a CBDC system that shall maintain the rigid underclass of society until such time the useless class, Harari's words, are surplus to requirement and will be disposed of. In short order, of course. Social automation, in other words. Obviously, by the occult tenets and doctrine, a mass extirpation, right, to use a coded word, I can't actually use the word I want to use that's the most optimal, just look up extirpation. So a mass extirpation will have to be concluded before the eventual introduction of the entirety of this new system, and that probably comes down to several reasons. Of course, firstly, in the occult ritualism of it, It's the descent, right, into death. It's the putrefaction of the target, right? It's the reduction of the base essence of the target to thus, like a rubber band, bring it down to its trough to then ping it back up, and it'll, hit a higher echelon. It will ascend, right? To think of it in an analogy, if you will. Data processing capabilities and the tendency of populations to grow exponentially, while technology innovates sporadically and in a rather linear manner, and the need to induce helplessness within the populace due to a lack of numbers is probably the practical reasons for this reduction of the number of the population. So, of course, some pretty insane stuff, to be honest, and I honestly hope I am wrong on everything, but alas, I don't think I am, and that is what is most terrifying. But yes, don't be scared of these people. Again, like the Wizard of Oz, they're merely like a fragile old man behind the curtain, pulling levers, hoping something works. Again, they've done this before, and they've destroyed everything before.